Hello and welcome to another episode of Core Balance Coaching, where we get together once a week to talk about a different topic related to getting out of the back pain cycle for good. This week's topic is going to be about a little story I'm going to tell you about a setback I experienced with my back and my process for getting out of the setback, for returning to my normal life. And so that's going to be the main focus of the stream is my recovery process, but I do want to tell a little story of what happened, just to give you some background information, and also because I recently was asked a question if I experience setbacks with my back anymore, and my answer was no. For the most part. It was a little bit of a longer answer, but my answer was for the most part no. And so I got hit in the face with irony and recently experienced nothing major, but definitely a bit of a setback where I can feel some feelings in my spine that brought back memories of many years ago. It's been many years since I experienced a setback, so I do think it was a little bit of an ironic thing that this happened now. At the time that I had just recently, maybe it was a week or two ago, that I had answered this question. So let's tell you a little bit about what happened. So my wife, who is pregnant, she's 8 months pregnant, decided, she's likes getting foot massages from this place down the street. It's called Rainbow Foot Massage. And so I joined her and I was going to get a massage too. And I noticed that they had full body massages. So I decided to get a full body massage. This is, just to tell you, this is one of those type of places where the people don't speak English. It's, I think, mostly Chinese, and they don't really speak English. So, you communicate by pointing and hand signals and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm getting a full body massage, and it's a man who is doing the massage, and he's being quite aggressive, doing some thrusts on my spine, and I highly doubt he was trained in, chiropractic maneuvers, but he was having fun with it. He's kind of a smaller guy, so he was throwing his whole body weight into it. And at one point, he had even had me put my arms behind my back, and he picked me up by my elbows and kind of like slammed me back down. So I was like in a back bend and then slammed back down on the table. And another point, he got up completely on top of me and had his full body weight on me. And I was like, wow, this is, pretty crazy. And anyway, nothing really happened that I felt. I was trying to protect my spine during the massage and, with just bracing my core during those aggressive times, but I didn't really feel anything. And after the massage, I felt really good. I felt like really, loose. And, that's kind of the, I don't know, you want to call it hormonal response to like a chiropractic adjustment. You feel like a flood of good feelings, like dopamine type feelings after you get adjusted and stuff like that. So anyway, that after that kind of rush wore off, I still felt pretty loose, maybe like a little bit too loose in my lumbar spine, in my lower back, right about there. And that's the vertebrae that I've, in my past dealt with, where I had an instability and it was very shifty and just, for many years, very uncomfortable area. And I think that instability kind of got loosened up a little bit. And so this has happened in the last week, maybe maybe it was the same day as last week's stream, right after the stream. So I've been dealing with this for about a week and still dealing with it now. And so I'm doing the things that I got to do to get back to normal. And so I thought I would share with you the types of things I'm doing. I wrote some stuff down, and happy to have you all here. I see there's a few people here live, so welcome, and thanks for being here. If you don't know who I am, my name's Dr. Ryan Peebles, I am a physical therapist by profession, but I've dedicated the last 20 years of my life to better understanding and reversing the root causes of chronic lower back pain. So, why don't we get into the portion of the stream where I talk about the things I'm doing to help myself. And I do want to say, before I get into the specific things, every setback is different, and every person's body is different. And so we have to recognize that, and part of the process of recovering from a setback for you will be to reflect on the things that you know from your past that are do more harm than good, and you want to do less of those things, and you want to think about the things that have been helpful for you, that you know from your personal experience, and you want to do more of those things. That's the general rule, is do more of what's working and less of what's hurting. And so that's what I'm doing for myself, and I'm going to share those things, but I just wanted to recognize that every setback is different. For example, some setbacks can set you back way more than others. In this case, for me, I would call it a moderate setback. I definitely have felt some discomfort, and it's going to be, I think, probably a few weeks before I'm back to normal. And I'm grateful that I can say that, because I know that I have the tools to be able to recover. And so I want to share them with you. And at the same time, like I said, every person's body and history is different. And so you're dealing with that as well. So I have some muscle memory from the things that I've learned in the past. So it's probably going to be, when you have that muscle memory, it's probably going to be a little easier to, get those healthy patterns back. And we're going to talk more about that in a minute. So let me bring up this. I'm going to go ahead and do this stream mostly standing in honor of, practicing what I preach. So I'm going to switch mics here. And please let me know if you can still hear me. It's probably not going to sound as good quality, but this allows me to stand up. And I'm going to show you a list of things that I wrote down. Hello, Alan, and hello, Tracy. Thank you for being here, and you're welcome for sharing my story. Yeah, I think that's what people have liked hearing over the streams, over the year or so that I've been doing these streams, is the personal insights, and so I'm trying to do more of them. Thank you for the feedback, and so let's get into it. So I made this list. Usually I do slides on whatever PowerPoint, but I figured I wrote these down, might as well just share them like this. So this is the list of the things that I'm doing. They are in no particular order of importance or value, but they are in order of when they came to me, like as I was remembering them, that I remembered each of these in this order. And actually I did save mindset for last, because it's the most important. As you can see, I put a little star next to it. I think it's probably 80%, 80 to 90%. I usually say 90% of the battle of getting out of the back pain cycle comes down to mindset. So I saved that one for last because it is the most important, and we're going to get into each one of these. Hello, Nathan. Okay, I'm going to get back to your comment in a little bit, because I'm going to go through each one of these pretty quickly. So, and if you have any questions about any of these, feel free to ask, and I can go a little deeper into it. So, the first thing is the floor. Definitely, when you have a setback, the floor should become your best friend. You want to spend more time on the floor. What I've been doing each morning is I wake up. First thing I do, start my day, is I get down on the floor. It's better to do it on an empty stomach and just like start your day by resetting, realigning. The bed is not firm enough to be aligning your spine. Any typical mattress is going to be too soft. So the floor, the firm surface, is going to be just amazing tool to not only just lay on and get down on, but be connecting to and be performing active exercises to activate the muscles in your core. And we're going to talk more about that when we talk about the back anchor and the front anchors down below here. So, but another thing I do on the floor is for me in my particular history, I'll give you a little bit of background. I already mentioned that part of it is instability. So one of my vertebrae moved too much in my history for years. It was unstable. It shifted too much when I would walk, and this is all come back from an event that I talked about in previous videos, which we won't get into, but instability. And I drew a picture to kind of share. So right here. So this is the pelvis. This is the rib cage. So you have the spine here, and you can just imagine that typically what happens is that vertebrae for me moves forward. It's called a spondylolisthesis. It's not an uncommon condition for the spine, and you can just imagine this vertebrae. Mine's an L5, but this is L4 we're going to use for the example. It's just shifting too much and typically gets pushed that way. And it's also getting pulled that way by the hip flexor muscles. Okay, that muscle group attaches directly to the vertebrae of the lumbar spine, and when it's tight, when this muscle group is tight, it's pulling on those vertebrae, pulling forward, pulling you into anterior pelvic tilt, pulling you into a stenosis position if you have stenosis, as I do and did. When these muscles get tight, they are going to be not helping your cause. And so one of the things I do with the floor is I have this in the program, is I use a pillow. I lay on the floor. So this is somebody that's face down. Okay, that's a person that's face down on the floor. And what color should I use now? I guess we'll go blue. I take a pillow and I place it right, well, it goes a little lower. Right there. So, and what this does is this actually has an upward pressure on my vertebrae, if you can imagine. So it's actually blocking my vertebrae from getting pulled down into that vulnerable position, into stenosis, into just a chronic extension position. And I just breathe. Okay, I just lay on the over the pillow, and I just breathe. So if you have stenosis or spondylolisthesis or even degenerative disc disease, which is a result of those other conditions, it's just the wear and tear on the discs from stuff like this, then this can be really helpful for you. If your primary problem is disc bulge, like if the primary cause of your pain is disc bulge or herniation, then this may or may not be really relieving for you. So it's going to be up to you to try it, but it's most likely going to be guaranteed beneficial if you have stenosis, spondylolisthesis, even DDD. So the best thing you can do, I say this in the video and the program, is spend at least 15 minutes in this position and just breathe over the pillow. I put exact markers for where to place the pillow, and you can use a really thick pillow if your problem is, if you had a major setback or whatever. The thicker, the more pressure it's going to push up, and it's just going to be, it can allow those lower back muscles to relax and let go and just be an excellent form of relief. So I do this, it feels good, and I start my day with a little bit of this, and then we're going to go back over to the list here. So as you can see, floor was number one, so that's one of the ways in which I'm using the floor. Let me just check the chat here to see if there's any questions. Nathan, you said perfect timing. So, oh yeah, you got a sprained ankle. Okay, wow, you got your boot. I've been there. Lisa, pain moving? Yes, especially if you are doing the right thing. Pain moving is a sign that you are targeting the pain, and it can often move to another area. So yes, that's normal. Sherry, good timing. Okay, setback. Yes, I'm excited to talk about mindset, so I'm gonna try and move through this list pretty quickly. And Ellen, good timing. All right. All right, cool. So lots of good timings. I'm glad that the timing is right for this. So breath, using my breath not only for this laying over the pillow relief position, which is in the program. If you want to watch the full video, it's in the extra concepts library. But it's a pretty simple concept. Just make sure you give it at least 15 minutes to let those muscles let go. When you have a setback, your body goes into the protective mode, protective state, and muscles hold on, they grip, and it takes time. And the nervous system can act very slowly and have delayed reaction, so it takes time for those muscles and the neuromuscular system to kind of release and feel safe enough to let go. And that's what we want, because we need the blood to flow through there, and we need to create healthy patterns through bracing our muscles the way that we have learned through the program, rather than those protective positions that are trying to bring us into the fetal position and are keeping us in the cycle. So breath is extremely powerful for that. You cannot take deep breaths if you feel unsafe. The more unsafe we are, the more rapid our breathing becomes. You can imagine yourself in a highly dangerous situation. Your breathing becomes very rapid and shallow. You can override that system of being in the protective position by taking deep breaths. And so that's what yoga and meditation is. Take deep breaths, and it tells your body that you are safe, because you cannot breathe deep if you are truly in danger. So I'm using breath all day long. The way that we teach in the program, that's what I'm doing. I'm breathing into my lower back, creating space, creating decompression, creating intra-abdominal pressure to stabilize my spine so that my protective muscles, like the hip flexors, can let go, because they're causing my problem. Remember, they're pulling my spine into the position that I don't want it to be in. So breath all day long, floor just often, and in the morning, and if as needed throughout the day. My setback wasn't that bad, so I'm just kind of doing it in the morning. Number 3, sit less, self-explanatory. Sitting is not good for anyone. It may feel okay for some people, but in my case it doesn't. Sitting doesn't feel good, especially if I'm in a setback, so I just do less of what's hurting and I do more of what's helping. So movement. My movement when I have a setback is low level, light activity. So like walking, or low level activities around the yard or around the house. Nothing really crazy. I'm not like surfing. I haven't really surfed in the last week. I'm not doing crazy anything. Okay, just low level activities, just slow, gentle movement, and keep that body moving. So if there's any more questions about that, I'll answer them, but I'm going to move on from this one. 5, float. I'm lucky enough to have a hot tub in this wonderful property that we rent, and so I get in the hot tub and I float. Buoyancy, decompress. So that combines. If you don't have a hot tub or a gym membership with a hot tub, you can float in anything. Bathtub, lake, swimming pool, ocean. It doesn't have to be hot. Actually, the next one is heat and cold. I don't know. I've never really decided what I think is more valuable between heat and cold. I love both of them. So I use heat with the hot tub, but I use cold with cold showers. I took a cold shower right before this stream. It's one of the most effective things that I do to reset and there's just so much. I'm not going to go into teaching about this, but there's guys like Wim Hof who can teach you all about it. So alternating, or just whenever you can, change the temperature. Get uncomfortable. Spray some freezing cold water in the month of February all over your body, and you're going to feel amazing when you get out of that shower. So, but also heat. So both. Bridge, okay, if you don't already know me, then I will tell you that I think the bridge is the best exercise on the planet if you do it the right way, and it's also the most commonly wrongly done exercise. So when done the right way, it's one of the most valuable exercises on the planet for lengthening your hip flexors. So remember, in my case, my hip flexors are a little bit of my enemy. I want to lengthen them. Instead of just stretching them passively, like with a kneeling hip flexor stretch, the bridge is much more effective for long-term benefits. That's all I'm going to say about the bridge, but I'm doing more of the bridge than usual in a setback. Now, we're down to the bottom of the list, the back anchor. I use the back anchor for relief, connecting to the back anchor for me, and even doing the back anchor progression. It just feels like it kind of decompresses my spine. It's pulling me in the opposite position. So as you can see, normally my vertebrae want to come forward and down. And so when I connect my back anchor here and I'm elevating my pelvis, I'm actually doing the up arrow, just like with the pillow. This is a person face down, but you got to imagine person face up for the back anchor. The next thing on the list, front anchors. So we'll go right here. So the front anchors I don't really use for relief. That's because it's actually more of a challenge for me, but it helps to lengthen my hip flexors. So my legs would be here, and I'm keeping my pubic bone connected to the floor and pressing away from it to elevate my legs, which is lengthening these hip flexor muscles. So it's an active way to lengthen the muscles that are protecting and tightening and worsening my problem, because a setback is not a single event. It's actually a state of being. Your body is in protective mode and you have to break out of it. So the front anchors is not relief, but it's relief if you put the pillow there. But without that pillow as a crutch, it's actually quite a challenge for me to be able to lengthen my hip flexors and keep my spine stabilized. So if you're in the program, you know what I'm talking about. By the way, I just released the front anchors FAQ, so that'll be there for you, the latest FAQ to be released. And let's talk about the last one, which is mindset. I'm done with the whiteboard unless I have to draw and show anything more. So I'm going to set this down and I'm going to sit down and talk to you guys about mindset. So give me one sec. We'll bring this guy back. Okay. Mindset. Hopefully you can still hear me all right. The main thing I want to say about mindset is that when you have a setback, and especially if you don't confidently know that you have the tools to get out of it, it can lead to a lot of anxiety about the future. And anxiety is one of the mindsets that keep us in what's called a sympathetic state, which is the same thing as the protective state of being, or protective mode. And that's where the muscles are going to tighten up and try and protect you, the protective muscles. They're bringing us into the fetal position. And so it's incredibly important to be able to get out of protective mode, because protective mode is not growth mode. You cannot be in growth mode, which would be progress, and protective mode, which is defense, at the same time. The body is in one or the other, sympathetic or parasympathetic. And so having those feelings of anxiety are natural and understandable, but they're also keeping us in the cycle. And so one of the ways in which you can try and, like I talked about earlier, is override. We talked about using the breath to override these systems of protection is not only with your breath, but also practicing gratitude. Gratitude for me, I believe, has been one of the most life-changing mental practices that I've adopted. And I feel that when something like a setback happens, and it's really easy to get into kind of a catastrophizing behavior or mindset of, oh man, this is terrible, everything's going wrong, what's my future going to be like? That can be stopped very powerfully by thinking about the things that you're grateful for, the things that you have, and the opportunities that you have to be able to address this challenge. It's another challenge, which is an opportunity to learn and grow and make progress. And so I just wanted to share that as a tool that I use regularly, whether or not I'm in a setback, to help me to breathe easy and to be in growth mode as often as possible. And so a practice that I have with my wife is that we say something or things that we're grateful for every night before we eat dinner, before we take a bite of food. We say what we're grateful for. So very similar to, a family or person that practices prayer. This is very similar practice, actually, in many ways. And so that is something that I just want to share with you, because if you have a setback, I think it's one of the most powerful tools you can use, is gratitude and mindset that that you're grateful for the tools that you have and the things that you already know to be able to address this challenge. And it may sound simple, or I don't even know, to some people it may sound silly, but I will say that it's one of the most powerful things. And then all those 9 other things, those are more physical things, are very important too. But they are unique to my situation and my body. And I think gratitude and mindset is the one thing that applies to everyone. So that's it. That is the presentation for today. So I'll take a quick look into the chat, and then what we're going to do is get into the live Q&A portion of the stream, where we have, I think, 10 questions this week from the Student Hub, and we'll get on with that. So take a quick look into the chat. I know, Lisa, I don't know if you're still here, but you had asked if it was normal, and I kind of breezed through your question. But yeah, the pain moving is a preferable sign or symptom to pain that does not move. Pain that does not move is the kind of the worst situation, because you could have pain that doesn't move for years, and you can be trying different interventions and modalities, and if it doesn't move, it means you're not really targeting the area. But if you can get pain to move, it means you've actually done something to change the cause of the pain, and it moved to another area. It's actually extremely common. And so the next step is to react and adapt your training to the new pain, and keep doing what you're doing, because what you were doing to get it to move is right. So do more of that and make whatever adaptation. And there's, infinite possibilities of where pain can move and where it moved from. And so it's going to be different for each individual, but just want you to know that it's actually kind of a good sign. Obviously, the best sign is that it moves out of your body, but oftentimes it moves to a different location before moving out of your body. Okay, so just looking through the chat here, it says lying flat in the MRI from Ellen Tweaked the muscles in your right hip. Yeah, I've often had thoughts about how not only the position that MRIs put people in it's not like the most comfortable position to be in, how that can affect you, but also how it affects the imaging. Because if you are if you change your body position, something like stenosis will change. And so I could take a picture of my spine right now with the vertebrae very opened up, and stenosis wouldn't show on the MRI, and I wouldn't get the diagnosis. But if I laid in the position that the MRI has me lay in, it's most likely going to show up. And so it's interesting, very dynamic situation. Let's see, Tracy. I keep seeing that sitting is the new smoking. What about lying down? Does lying down have the same negative effects as sitting? That's a great question, Tracy. I don't think that it has the same amount of negative effects. I think sitting is more negative, specifically because of just the compression on your discs. But laying down, it's necessary. It's healthy. Your discs actually imbibe fluid, which means absorb fluid when you're laying down, rather than the fluid getting pressed out of the discs when you're sitting. So it's got preferable, characteristics over sitting. But laying down too much, like for example with my setback, if I were to just spend a lot more time laying down. Notice I didn't have that on my list. I don't spend more time laying down because I have a setback. And that's because it's not actually beneficial to me. So spending too much time laying down actually can encourage muscle atrophy. And if you go 72 hours without doing any kind of muscle activity for certain muscles, they start eating themselves. They get smaller, not only smaller, but nerves send less signals to them to fire, and the body, use it or lose it is the rule. So I don't lay down more, but you still lay down the amount that you need to get sleep and rest, and it's to each their own with that. But it's not a strategy I use, and I don't think it's bad for you unless you do it too much. Hello, Mr. or Mrs. Borger and Ellen. Thank you for the kind words. So that looks like I got through the chat there, and we're going to go ahead and get into the slides. I do want to announce the Student Hub Student of the Week. This week is Joshua Baker. So congratulations, Josh. We actually felt that you were the Student Hub of the Student of the Week because of your thankfulness that you showed in the Student Hub. So here you are. It says, "Thankfulness is contagious. We are grateful that you chose us to help you on your journey out of pain. Thank you for your participation in the Student Hub. Thank you for asking questions. We appreciate your desire to learn and your gratitude in the process." So we're going to add a month to your membership, Joshua. You have to do nothing. And thank you for participating. And we're grateful to have you in the program. So congratulations to you. So let's move on to the questions. The first question is from Joshua. And Joshua says, "I love to work out and run and play sports, but I've always been hindered by my back. I stopped everything a couple months ago from a bad flare-up." So like a setback, right? "And then started this program. I am feeling better and fixing the way I move about my life to stop causing trauma to my back. Wanted to know what you think about getting back into the movement-based activities I love, specifically running. Do I need to finish the program first before I start back anything? When running specifically, will I need to focus on continuously connecting the back anchor?" Okay, so we're going to address this first. So the first question is, do I need to finish the program? No, Joshua, you can, the program is fluid and dynamic with your life. So you don't have to finish the program really ever. I feel like a lot of people, they get what they need from the program. I really believe this, and they just stop the program wherever they're at. I don't recommend it. I think it's a good idea to finish the program and get the complex movements portion of the program so you can apply core balance training to all of the parts of your life if you want, especially if you want to get back to sport, because there's some very valuable stuff in there. But some people, all they wanted was to get out of pain, and so the program is, you can take 6 months to do it. You can do it in 3. You can take a year to do it. But with your life, you're just constantly listening to your body and adding the activities back in as you feel comfortable, as you feel that they are appropriate, and learning from that process. Maybe you add an activity back in too soon and you learn the hard way, so you take it back out and maybe you add it in, or just regress the activity and add it in more gradually and progress back to where you were. That's my recommendation. But yeah, the nothing conflicts with the program unless it's doing you harm. So you're the only one that can know that. I can say that for the most part, there are certain activities that I just don't recommend in general, like just sitting excessively. And there are certain things like excessive backward bending activities. Surfing being one of them is a little bit rough. Gymnastics, horseback riding can be quite impactful. Off-roading, I don't recommend really high impact activities, especially sitting. Like sitting and off-roading is one of I don't know. I don't do much off-roading. So let's get into the next part of your question. When running specifically, do I need to focus continuously on connecting the back anchor? You might have to in the beginning. That was one of the things I kind of forgot to say about the anchors. So with my recovery process, my setback recovery process, I mentioned the anchors. And I just kind of what I forgot to say is that what I do is I kind of, in my journey of back pain, I used the anchors to get out of pain. And then they kind of got integrated into my natural movement. And I didn't really have to think about them as much. And I can do more natural activities the way you normally do because they're integrated. But when I have the setback, I'm consciously thinking about them more. And I'm going a little harder on my connections to protect my spine. And so I am doing more conscious front and back anchors in everything that I do during a setback. And so to answer your question, Josh, in the beginning, you might have to continuously connect to your anchor until it becomes integrated, but it does, and it will. And at that point, you can think about other things. You can think about, sometimes thinking about your breath, which I believe a lot of runners do, is the same thing as you're connecting your back anchor, because it kind of requires you to connect to be able to send your breath back there. So that's also a fluid, dynamic situation. Let's keep going with your questions. The back seems so complicated and honestly very frustrating. Do I just start slow while using the principles from your program? And if I have a flare-up, stop and reevaluate? If you have a flare-up, Josh, I say go back to the basics, front and back anchors. Watch this stream from the beginning if you haven't already, and I kind of go through that whole process. And I wouldn't say stop anything except the activity that caused you the flare-up. You need to either modify or stop that activity, but don't stop everything. You want to keep doing the things that are helping you. And, I go through the list. So those are the things that help me, and they probably will help a lot more people as well. So you say, I'm 24. I've had a discectomy already, so I'm torn between doing what I love and risking having back pain forever. So right here, this is key. I talked about mindset earlier. Okay. Full screen for this. Josh says, I'm torn between doing what I love and risking having back pain forever. This is where I was. for many years? Am I going to be like this forever? Am I going to be in a wheelchair? Someday I'll tell my story. I'll tell some of the harder parts of my story where I had a chiropractor tell me that if I didn't change something, that I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I was 30. Can you imagine how that had an impact on my psyche? Major psychological impact on me to hear that from a healthcare professional in a white coat. Needless to say, I never ended up in a wheelchair, but having that in my mind affected my progress. And so, Josh, what I want to say to you is, no, you're not going to have back pain forever. Yes, you can get back to the things that you love, and you should get back to the things that you love gradually and progressively. So maybe not full steam 100%, 100 miles an hour, but maybe 10 miles an hour doing something that you love, and see how that goes, and apply the tools that you've learned to that activity, because that's the whole point in this program, is integrating the anchors into the activities of your daily life. And ideally, those are the activities that you love most. So that's my message to you. And let's finish the rest of your slide. So you said, or just enjoying my life free of pain and cutting out a lot of the activities I love. So I don't believe it's an either or. You can have both, but it requires probably the most. There's two things I think that it requires more than anything else. One, besides the prerequisite of believing that you can do it, the two ingredients that you need are, one, the commitment, the persistence to be able to stick with this process of doing more of what's helping and less of what's hurting. And two is patience, because it best happens gradually over a period of time, maybe 1% per day. That'd be fast, 1% per day improvement. So patience, and you can have both. Just wanted to get your take. Thanks so much for all you do. I appreciate you, Josh. And again, congrats on being the Student Hub Student of the Week. Let's move on to the next question. From Jonathan. I'm a newbie, just finished day one. Couple questions. Is it okay or counterproductive to do these exercises 3 to 4 times a day? I love it. That's a good sign, Jonathan. I would say frequency of 3 to 4 times a day is fine. But if you are also one of those people that wants to just do more so you can and work really hard and get more benefit, do not apply that motivation to your intensity. So do not go 3 to 4 times harder with the exercise and your intensity, thinking that's going to give you more benefit. That's going to be counterproductive. And you're going to learn more about that later in Module 2. We get deep into why low intensity is best early on. So yes, if you want to work hard and get more benefit, you can increase your frequency, do it multiple times a day, but low intensity right now. Breathing, meditating, tuning into your body, and know that that's the best thing that you can do right now. Second question, is it okay to continue my moderate exercise routine, half-hour light cardio and machine weights? Yes, it is. Nothing conflicts with core balance training unless it's something that's harming you. There are activities that we do that are causing the problem that we may not even realize because we don't feel the pain while doing them. But you want to reflect back and think, okay, man, my back's a little off. It's feeling a little more irritated. What did I do earlier today? Or what did I do yesterday that could have caused this? So you got to figure out what the activities are that might be actually contributing to your problem, and you want to cut those out. But other than that, there's no specific things that conflict with core balance training. My advice is just to apply the concepts that you're learning in the program as you learn them to the activities that you do in your life. And that's how you're going to get the best outcome from the program is the integration, the best long-term outcome. Hello, Guillermo. Seeing you in the chat. Glad to have you here. One of the core members, showing up probably more weeks than anyone else. Hope the weather is treating you right in New York. It's probably pretty cold. Christine says, hello, I am still in the free trial week. I've had back pain since high school. It's been pretty mild until this 13 months. I'm now in some sort of constant pain to extreme pain. I was wondering if while doing this program we were supposed to stop all other exercises. I love to exercise and was wondering if I'm okay to continue to do light strength training. Okay, Christine, welcome to the program. Both of you, Christine and Jonathan, welcome. And you have pretty much the same question to Jonathan's second question. And I should have read yours, Christine, before giving the answer to his second question because it's the exact same answer. So you can rewind it a little bit and watch that just to get the full answer. But I'll say just right now, again, it's totally okay. And nothing conflicts with core balance training. Just make sure what you're doing isn't contributing to the problem. And you can only know that by listening to your body and reflecting back. When you feel pain and you reflect back on the activities you've recently done to try and make those connections. But yeah, go ahead and rewind to the beginning of my answer to Jonathan and you'll get the full answer. But ultimately, yes, you can continue especially light strength training. Yeah, it's going to be good. Just apply the concepts that you're learning in the program as you learn them. We're going to gradually learn a new element as you're ready. And you're going to add that into what you're doing with your light strength training. And that will help with the movement retraining. There's a great practice ground. So we're moving on to the next question. Okay, we got two questions here. One from Paul. I am really struggling with the back anchor progression. I cannot unweight my pelvis enough to get it to lift off the floor without engaging my legs and or using my abs in a more of a crunch type move. I am confused by the get fat thought versus a crunch to get the pelvis to lift even slightly off the floor. Okay, I understand your confusion, Paul, so I'm going to answer this for you. Let me just finish your question. Although Dr. Peoples is referring to them as abdominal muscles in the Get Fat video, is it actually the obliques that he is testing with his fingers to make sure they are engaged? Yes. The obliques, and underneath the obliques is the transverse abdominis. So those are abdominals because they are in the abdomen. When most people think abdominal muscles, they think of the six-pack, which is called the rectus abdominis. But as a group of muscles, the abdominal muscles do include the deeper muscles, which are the muscles we are targeting here in the program. Most people have just fine active six-pack abs, but they're missing the activation and participation in their daily life and movements of those deeper muscles. So let's get back to the meat of your question, and we're going to start from the beginning again. So unweighting the pelvis without engaging the legs or abs in a more of a crunch type move, and then the confusion with the get fat. Okay, here we go. Get fat is more of a test. It's more of a check on your body that the deep core is engaged, because it's very possible, as I show in that video, Paul, it's very possible to engage the six-pack abs, those movement muscles, and the deep core be shut off. So what we want to make sure is that the deep core is also on along with the six-pack abs. So it's not one or the other. It's ideally both. And so the Get Fat video is more of a check to make sure it's on. It's not a strategy for movement to be applied to, say, the bridge or the back anchor progression. Though the strategy of movement is the back anchor. So connecting your back anchor is what we're learning. It's just awareness right now. We're still really early on, and we're going to start applying that back anchor and then later the front anchors to movement. But the Get Fat, think of it just as a test or a check with your fingers. So when you're doing the back anchor progression, it's okay to use your legs, ideally your glutes a little bit, to help elevate the pelvis. That's okay. As your abdominals get stronger, including the six-pack rectus abdominis, they will be able to do, and the crunch is okay by pushing away from the back anchor. they will be able to be strong enough to engage and unweight the pelvis. It doesn't have to lift up high off the floor or lift up at all, but it just kind of unweights a little bit, and that's just fine. So the crunch happens from the six-pack abs. We just want to make sure that the deeper muscles are also engaged with them, and it's not only the six-pack abs. And all of this naturally happens. The right thing naturally happens by connecting your back anchor. That's why we learn it that way. That's what babies and infants learned to develop their movement. And so we're modeling after that. It engages the right muscles naturally. And then once you're up off the ground, say in the bridge, you want to check that you're getting fat with your fingertips. And so that's the process. Hopefully that clears it up for you. The crunch type move is okay. You're probably having to strain a lot harder than you will in the future as your all the abdominals get better at working together and get stronger, more endurance. It will feel easier for you to do this without having to crunch like you're working out. So patience, persistence, and clearing up that whole get fat thing. So it's okay to use your legs. It's okay that the six-pack abs are engaged. We just also want the deep core engaged. Okay, Tom, I'm sure this is a similar question. Tom Plummer, I don't understand the push away. Do you get seated and relax, pull yourself up rigid, slouch, or what? Yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing to try and wrap your head around the first time. For many people, it takes several sessions to be able to just like grasp what this whole thing is. So, I mean, I can demonstrate it right here and I'll try and walk you through it. But the push away is as simple as it sounds, is you're pushing away from the surface that you're on. So right now I'm seated on a box, a bench, and I'm going to push away from that surface. Now, it may sound simple and easy to say, like I'm saying right now, but it can be difficult to actually implement the push away because our bodies are not used to it. We're dealing with one force, which is gravity, pulling us down into the earth. And right now, the main surface that I'm connected with is this bench that I'm sitting on and my two sit bones. And so I can try and push away from my sit bones, but it feels awkward and weird. Like, how do you push away from something that you're already sitting on? And so think about it like this. So I have my desk here, and I'm connected with my hand. That's my main connection point, and I can push away, and it makes my arm straighten. It makes my arm taller. But what we tend to do for posture is, instead of trying to push away from our surface, we just try and lengthen this. We try and lift up this, and it's almost an opposite move. So I'll do it with my shoulders. Like, I can be slouched and I'll try and lift myself up, and that's not actually as natural as being slouched. And instead of trying to lift up, I actually push down. As I push down further into the surface, it has the equal and opposite reaction called a ground reaction force, and it makes me taller. And it's a much more natural and healthy way to recycle gravity rather than to try and fight it and try and get taller by lifting off of it. And so it's more of a mindset intention than anything else. It's a similar outcome on the outside, but a healthier process on the inside. The right muscles are engaging. And so you don't have to get the push away right away, but think about all your energy has to go down. So down lower in order to be able to push away. And we're not actually lifting up. And you're going to apply this to the anchors, which are coming in the next few lessons. It should make more sense as you get further into the program. So hopefully that helps. And we'll move on to the next question. This is from Erica. And I did see something in the chat. Oh, it looks like Paul was here live. All right, cool. Let me just, oh, and I see I was not even on my slides for a while either. So let's take a look in the chat. JR, way too warm on the East Coast. Oh, interesting. Chris Manhart, my lower back is improving, but I still have decreased sensation in my right leg and right foot. My right leg and right foot also feel slightly weaker than the left. Any additional tips or advice? Oh, well, there's nothing going to be specific because the things that are likely, Chris, contributing to the right, it's pain and, it's decreased sensation and weakness. If those symptoms and signs and symptoms are coming from your lower back, then it's really going to be the same thing that helps your lower back. So I'm giving everything I've got with core balance training to help your lower back. And if the cause of your right leg signs and symptoms are from your lower back, then it's going to be the same thing. But if the cause of your right leg signs and symptoms are somewhere else, maybe further down, maybe your piriformis, maybe somewhere down the line where there can be a nerve impingement somewhere else. It's called double crush. If if you have an impingement in, say, your lower back, and then again somewhere else, which is actually more common than people think, the nerve is not gliding through the groove as it should, so it is more likely to get caught somewhere else. Then there would be something different to add to strengthening the deep spinal support muscles that support your spine and using your breath to create space. I don't know, Chris, if you saw the stream on decompression hanging, but that's a new thing I've kind of added to core balance training, and it's not in the program yet, but it's going to be added, and I did the live stream on it. So if you haven't seen that one, that's another way to just add some decompression to a potentially compressed nerve. And then Paul, you say, got it. Thank you. I was thinking I had to use the deep ab muscles in lieu of the six-pack abs as opposed to in coordination with them. Ah, yes. Light bulb moment. So in coordination, yeah, we want to use the deep core in coordination with our entire body. And that's the goal of the program. They actually don't really provide much movement at all. So we can't move our bodies very much without the movement muscles. So the movement muscles aren't the enemy. We just want them to be more synergistic with the deep core muscles. And in order to do that, you got to start with the deep core. You got to do that layer and become familiar with it before you add the other layers, because the superficial layers tend to dominate and overcompensate, and then the deep core can just shut off. So that's why the program starts the way it is. Chris, yes, I saw the decompression stream. I will do that. Thank you. Yeah, so adding some decompression, Chris, to your routine, if it's not already there, is the way I know to decompress a nerve. If it's not already being helped by like reducing, I showed the pillow demonstration. That's a great way to decompress a nerve. I forgot to share, I was actually having some sciatic symptoms from my setback, which is not a fun thing. It's a little bit of a scary thing. So that's one of the reasons I was using the pillow relief method on the floor to decompress the nerve, and it did work. It was effective. So that's another way. I would just keep doing, Chris, if you say it's improving, like actively improving, then that means you're doing things right. And I would just double down and triple down on those right things, and then double down and triple down on doing less of the things that you may be holding you back. Okay, so we're going to go back to the slides. I just did these two, and I don't know if I showed the slide, so here's the slide. Paul, you're here live. Happy to see you. And then Tom, I believe I just demonstrated for Tom the push away. So We've got 5 more slides. This one is from Erica. Today was my first day of week 3, day 2. I intentionally spent almost 3 weeks on week 3 because the front anchors were a real challenge for me. I think you probably meant week 2. Today I hiked for an hour and 45 minutes and noticed my mid-back was feeling tired. Lower thoracic paraspinal muscles when standing up straight. Is that expected after opening up the thoracic spine? Definitely, Erica, you're going to experience changes like this, and you're not the first person that has reported something similar. And yeah, as we get more mobility in our thoracic spine, the stiffness that was there, so this is important. Many of us have been, part of our posture has been held up by stiffness, simple stiffness. And so as we add more mobility to our thoracic spine, that stiff part of our spine, which is going to take the load off of our lower back. It's very good for your lower back and your neck to add mobility to your thoracic spine. As we do that, you're not being held up by the stiffness anymore. And so the muscles have to do more work, which is what they're supposed to do, the postural muscles. But since they may not have been doing that for such a long time, they may not have the endurance. They have the strength, but they may not have the endurance to do it over a long period of time, especially as you're doing light and low-level movement for a long period of time, such as you were hiking. So perfect example. And so this is just probably a natural process, and if you can continue to have the intent, the positive intentions of keep staying open with the front anchors and the stuff you're learning in the program, those muscles will develop endurance over time. But you might have to give them a rest, and you might have to listen to them and react appropriately. They'll tell you if they're burned out and is doing more harm than good than trying to push through. So give them a break, let them get some blood flow, recover, and do some more. So yeah, great question, Erica. Next one is from Timothy. I'm 65 years old. Let me go to the slide. I'm 65 years old, have had both hips replaced, 2007 and 2015. I struggle with disc issues often and have done many different PT sessions and stretching programs with little long-term success. 2 weeks into CBT, and I'm very excited because I can really see the logic. Intuitively, I have always known my posture is out of whack. And now I know what to do to fix it. Thank you so much for this program. Hey, thank you, Timothy. Appreciate that. And I'm glad that to me, I feel like the program is very weird and strange. So I'm really happy to hear that there are people out there that can see the logic in it. And also that it gives you confidence, because confidence is a huge factor in the whole mindset thing that I was talking about earlier as part of this stream. So go back and watch that if you haven't already. My question, would it be possible to get more information on the mechanics of bending over properly from the hips rather than the lower back? Bending wrong seems to get me in trouble. Yeah, there is more information coming to you. Let's see, I don't know at what point you are in the program, Timothy, but Module 5 is when we start the hip hinge, and that is the point in the program at which I think it is the most appropriate to introduce this without risking introducing it too early, and layers get mixed up and people missing the important foundations before adding that in. So Module 5 it's coming. Keep doing the things that you're learning as you're learning them, because the order of the program is very specific for a reason. And then we're going to add that layer when you're ready. In the meantime, if you want to practice hip hinging, put your hands right in the crease of your hips. You can do it when you're sitting, and find that crease. That's the hip crease. That crease is what you want to be using when you're standing too, to bend over and pick something up. You can do it in the mirror and just do tiny mini hinges, just little mini ones, and that's your hip crease right there. Put your hands right there and hinge over it, and be using your glutes to do that, not your lower back muscles, because the glutes are a hip muscle. You're going to use your hips to do something, you use your hip muscles. The lower back muscles do not move the hips at all. So you don't need your lower back muscles to hip hinge. So just keep that in your mind, and you'll get there. I think it's a great question, and I did the stream on it last week. You probably tuned in. Maybe that's a follow-up question on last week's stream. And I know that it was kind of skipping. The connection was a little weird. Apologies for that, but we'll come out with a better quality video footage of last week's stream in a future video, and so look out for that, and I'll get a little more in depth into what you're talking about here. Let's take a look in the chat. I saw a couple things in the chat. So Yevgeny, hello, good to see you. Another core member showing up. Always love seeing you here, Yevgeny. FYI, after the core balance program, I'm back to the weights training and beyond that extended it with daily high intensity interval training. Hopefully my core is of a good base. All right, that's great to hear, Yevgeny. That's good to hear for other people who have had questions on this stream, Yevgeny, about being able to get back to activities that they like doing and higher intensity activities. Yevgeny was, a student in 2020, I believe. And so that's a little bit of a timeline for you if you're wondering. And I think Yevgeny, you've been back to sports and activities like tennis, I believe, for a while now. So it is possible, everyone, and happy to have some alumni showing up on the stream. JR says, I just left PT and they wanted me to continue standing lumbar extension. Should I stop these? If it were me and my body, JR, I would stop, because I know it's not beneficial to my body and potentially harmful if I'm not in a really good fitness state with my hip flexors. I wouldn't do it after standing up from this stream because I'm sitting and my hip flexors tightening up. That's gonna potentially harm me. But everyone's different, and so you gotta feel what it felt like when you did that. They had you do that in the PT clinic, and maybe it felt okay while you were doing it, but how did you feel an hour later, 2 hours later, maybe even that night? If it feels a little off, that is a potential activity that can cause irritation. So you got to listen to your body, reflect back, and say, okay, I'm not going to do that again if it's harming me, even if a healthcare professional is telling me to, because that professional cannot feel what I can feel in my body. And so it's your domain, and you need to be the ruler of it. Just like I should have with the whole massage thing, where I had probably an untrained person doing chiropractic adjustments on my body. I should have said, no, thank you. Please stop. But I didn't do that. And here I am in a setback. So yes, professionals can feel like they have a power, but no one can feel your body. So you're the only one that can be able to know if something's helping or hurting, and you have the right, and you should say no, thank you, for things that you don't feel is helping you. Don't keep doing it just because they say to. So that's my answer to that. We've got Yevgeny, P.S. The program's still part of my routine. Great to hear, and as mine as well. And Mr. or Mrs. Borger, I've done so much before happening in your program, and I actually do not have lower back pain, but after watching your first 15 minutes free video, I just knew you were going to be the missing piece in my work in Argentinian tango. Oh, that's so interesting. I've never heard of Argentinian tango. I'm going to have to look that up. Will you put a link to something in the chat? I don't know if chat allows links, but that sounds awesome. and I've been at it for 9 years already. Daniela, today is day number 1 for me. I'm currently going to Pilates. Can you do both the program and Pilates, or should I stop Pilates until I complete the program? That's a good question, Daniela. I've answered this question a couple times on today's stream, very similar questions where people say, can I do this while doing core balance training? Yes, you can. And I don't know what time I answered this question, but I went kind of in depth into it, probably like 15 minutes ago. But basically the rule is you want to try and integrate the things you're learning in the program to the things that you're doing in real life. Now, particularly with Pilates, since you're asking, Pilates is a super heavy hip flexor activity. For example, 100s are insane hip flexor exercises. And in this program, we're actually trying to do a little bit of the opposite of that. And so, movement feels good. Pilates feels good. It's a lot of movement. And it can feel really good in the moment. But if you are feeling soreness afterwards, it may be some of that hip flexor training that I believe is very heavy in Pilates, and you want to just be aware of that. All right. Calm attitude and chill vibe. All right. And, T-Spora. So I'm glad I didn't assume, is it T-Spora? I think I got that right. T-S-C. Cool name. I'm guessing it's from Argentina. So anyway, happy to have people here live. Happy to see action in the chat. I'm going to get back to the slides. We've got 3 more slides. I think I finished with this one. Yeah. So this is from Tim. I've been working on the CBT program for several weeks, noticing a slight improvement in my sciatica. That's huge, Tim. Just want to say, with sciatica, with nerve impingement, even 1% changes are massive improvements, and they should be celebrated. And keep doing what you're doing, because it can take a long time to make improvements to stuff like that. SI joint pain, instabilities, nerve stuff takes longer than muscular pain. So yeah, you're doing something right. The day I added in the butt buster challenge to the bridge brought on a severe setback. Okay, so here we are. We got to listen to your body. I only did 10 to 15 total of the butt busters during the 5 minutes of bridging. Things have calmed down somewhat after a week or so. Is there any other advice or modifications other than starting with doing 1 butt buster per 5 minutes of bridging and adding on more butt busters daily or weekly throughout the rest of the program? So the butt buster, Tim, is specifically... And not specifically, it's specific to a lot of things, but I have it in there with the goal of helping people with SI joint problems. It sounds like for you it was not beneficial, so you don't need to do this exercise to get the benefits and have success in the program. I'm not going to say to just cut it out completely and never do it again. What I will say is go back to the basics. Back anchor module 1, front anchors module 2. It sounds like you're in module 4 right now, I believe, is the butt buster. So, do the things that have helped you get to the progress that you made. Do more of them. Go back to the basics. Don't keep progressing. And then when it's time to do the butt buster, don't put a band around your thighs. Just do the movement very slowly and gradually with no resistance, and just get that movement in your hips, and that should be fine. Very low level, very light, and then you can progress from there. So maybe throw a band on there if you're able to do progress up to doing several of the unbanded butt buster. And when you throw the band on, do 1 and see how that goes. But this is not a required activity to have success in the program. The success in the program does not come from the butt buster. It's just 1 tool, and especially helpful for people with SI joint pain and just building the glutes. So hopefully that helps. Back to the basics is my main advice for you. As you had a setback. This whole stream is about setbacks, so watch this stream from the beginning if you have time. You can always put the speed of the playback on like 1.5 or something if you're short on time. All right, real quick to the chat. Tracy, what are your thoughts on epidural injections and prolotherapy? And oh, cool, biblical name, Cispora. All right, Cispora. Thoughts on epidural injections and prolotherapy? I did a whole stream on that, Tracy, especially prolotherapy. So I'm going to refer you to the prolotherapy stream. It's called Maximizing Benefits. And I share all my thoughts on that. So that's a live stream from the past. And we will be publishing that into a YouTube video in like a couple months. And then epidurals. Epidurals are not a solution. They can help you get over a hump if you are unable to do the things you need to do to get better, such as core balance training. You can't get down on the floor. You can't tolerate it. An epidural can help you to be able to then do. So if you get the epidural, it's not guaranteed to work. For half the people, it does nothing. For half the people, it works for 3 to 6 months. It might allow you to then get down on the floor and do the things that will actually benefit you. And in that case, it can be a beneficial thing. I highly recommend that you never get more than 3 epidurals in the same location in your body, because the studies show that it actually has a long-term effect of weakening the tissues, all the tissues, not just the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons, all the tissues. Ideally, you don't get more than 3 epidurals in your whole body in a lifetime, but especially in the same location. All right. Oh, looks like I have a prolotherapy question on this stream. Okay, let's go. Let's go to it right now. Well, I don't see it. Let's see. This is the one I just answered. Let's go to this. Show you guys the slides. So this is the one that's next. I don't see a prolotherapy question here, unless I'm blind, which I am, a little bit blind. And Troy has a long one, so I don't see a prolotherapy question. Asti, can you clarify? Oh, it is from Ellen. Okay, I'll just read it. It is the next question, so perfect. Ellen says, I'm curious as to your thoughts and or any experience with I am blind, with prolotherapy or PCP to address, I think you mean PRP. Hopefully you mean PRP, because I think PCP is a drug like speed, but I've never used it, so I can't speak on PCP. But if it's PRP, I can speak to it. I've used it. To address laxity of tendons and ligaments related to SI joint instability. Okay. So I have used prolotherapy specifically to address SI joint instability. And in my experience, actually, shockingly, with my beliefs, shockingly, it actually was pretty helpful. And so, yeah. So, and for you as well, I believe, Tracy, for specifically the SI joint, it was actually helpful to stabilize the joint. And the way it works is by creating a little bit of, I don't know, we'll call it scar tissue, but it just inflammation response, body stabilize, and potentially can work. But in the stream about maximizing benefits, where I go deeper into this, and also PRP. So PRP doesn't have that effect. PRP, it just improves the healing. But what I will say is, before I say what I'm going to say, I'm going to finish your question, Ellen. Are these treatments effective? Will strengthening the core muscles through CBT directly address this and help to improve tendon laxity and SI joint instability? Okay, so what I will say that I was going to say a second ago was these treatments are effective and can be effective, but they're not guaranteed effective. Because if you do not remove the thing that is causing the problem, and I actually thought of a good analogy recently. Say you have mold in your house and you are getting the symptoms of mold in your lungs. It's causing you to be sick. So you take mold medication. And it's effective medication. It's effective to help you with your mold sickness, but you don't remove the mold out of your house. Is it going to be effective? I think the answer is no. It's the medication, which is an effective medication, is not going to work because you did not eliminate the problem. And so in the same way, if you do not address the cause of your SI joint instability, because it didn't become unstable spontaneously, there's something in your life or your history that required it. You know, if it was a single event that caused the instability, which I think is less common, then the treatments should be very effective. But if it's an ongoing thing or a gradual onset, then there's most likely an ongoing cause, a root cause, which is, I think, you know, vast majority of situations. Muscle imbalances are an ongoing thing. Then taking the medicine, the prolotherapy or the PRP, is not going to be effective because the problem still exists. The mold is still there. And so that's my answer to that. Will strengthening the core muscles through CBT directly address and help improve tendon laxity and SI joint instability? Yes, that's my belief. It helped with me. And also, I was just talking about the butt buster bridge. I don't know if you're there. You have been in the program for a while, Ellen. So, and I thought you were here live today. So you've probably reached the butt buster bridge, but that's the one I highly recommend for SI joint instability. And then in conjunction with doing the right things, removing the cause, removing the muscle imbalances by balancing your musculature, and also by, doing less of the things that are harmful, then yes, these things, prolotherapy and PRP, can be an effective catalyst to help speed up your healing process. And in that case, I would do them, but I wouldn't do them there. It's a waste of money, and you're throwing your money away if you do them as the only solution to an ongoing problem. Hopefully that makes sense. Take a quick look in the chat. We're going for how long? We're at an hour and 20 minutes today. Yes, Daniela sees the question. I'm the blind one with my glasses. I know. And Tracy, I was very leery about doing epidurals because I had read it could weaken the tissue. Yes, that's true, Tracy, in the evidence. I can do exercises at this point, so that's helpful to know. Yeah, so if you can do exercises, Tracy, then you can help yourself. And if you can help yourself, then you may not need the epidural because all it would do for you is mask the pain, maybe, for definitely a temporary period of time. And it will not have any long-term effect except weakening the tissues. I mean, I'm just using a little logic here, but the research was based on 3 injections. But my logic is, if 3 injections weakens the tissues, wouldn't that mean that 1 injection would weaken them a little bit? That's just, I don't know, the way I think, but it's possible that I'm wrong. So here we go. Number 2 from Ellen. I have really appreciated the videos you've done on foot issues and footwear. I suffer with bunions and was wondering if you'd be able to provide a few links to the toe spreaders that you have used and liked. I wish I had them here, Ellen. I need to write myself a reminder because I think somebody else asked about that too. The toe spreaders are something called they were like $50. I bought them. I can't remember the name, so I'm going to have to post the answer for you. I will look that up, and I don't have them right here. Otherwise, I would just look at them, and I will give you the name of those toe spreaders. They're awesome, and they can be altered for different foot shapes. And I've been thinking about using them lately because my feet they're really healthy right now, and so I want to continue building them by spreading them out. I noticed that the more my feet spread out, the healthier they are. So Anyway, here we go. Number 3 from Ellen. During the back anchor challenges, while I engage the abdominals and alternate each leg forward and back, should I also be squeezing my glutes? I think that when I do squeeze my glutes while extending each leg forward, there may be more stability in my SI joint. That's probably true, Ellen, because the glutes are the primary muscle group that stabilizes your SI joint. There's very few muscles that cross the joint, that even have the capacity to stabilize this joint from here to here. But the glutes are one of the muscles that do that. So yeah, normally you wouldn't be squeezing your glutes during the back anchor challenge, but you having SI joint instability may benefit from adding that in. And so I just showed this right here. You know, the glutes are kind of like this, and there's a little bit of an attachment on the sacrum here. And so there's very few muscles that can have the ability to squeeze that joint together and create stability in what is an unstable situation. Let's get back to where you are, meaning less clicking on extension. Yes. Way to listen to your body. That is exactly what it means. So keep doing what's working for you. I've been trying to take your advice and only extend to the point right before I think it will click. Ellen, you're a great student. You are this question is, you've probably gotten student of the week already, but this question, right here, is a student of the stream for me. So great job, Ellen. Keep listening to your body. Keep doing the things that are working. I love your question about the toe spreaders. I'm sure other people will be happy to get that, the name of that as well. And yeah, this also, I will refer you to, if you want to dive deep into this topic with me, the stream called Maximizing Benefits. It's one of those streams I did a couple months ago. So that is everything for today. So thank you for being here, everyone. Still got a few people here live. So if you're still here and you enjoyed the stream, hit that like button and let YouTube know that you enjoyed the stream so they can push this out to more people. And let's help more people that are struggling with back pain, because there's so many of us out there. And I say us right now because I'm in a setback, and that was the topic of today's stream. And so I shared everything that I am currently doing to return to normal, to make my recovery from the setback. So hopefully that helped you. And thank you everyone for being here. Oh, did I miss a question? Oh, I did. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Asti. You saved the day. I have one more question. I thought that I was done and I wasn't. So here's Troy's question. As you know, for months now, almost every time I would hold the bridge position, I would get a stiff, inflamed lower back, and besides the pain, it was really frustrating and discouraging. But a buddy of mine told me to put a yoga strap, just above my knees, and then while pressing out into the yoga strap at only 25 to 50% max pressure, to do really slow reps into and then out of the lunge position. Okay? Completely disengaging the muscles once I was back on the ground. It worked. Okay, so we're talking about in the bridge, but I'm a little confused at what you write, Troy, because you say the lunge. And when I think of the bridge, I don't think of a lunge. So maybe you're actually talking about a lunge. Hopefully I can get clarity on that by reading more. Instead of just holding the position for several minutes, which almost always aggravated my low back, the reps helped me to engage, then release the proper muscles. This not only helped me to avoid the inflamed, aggravated low back, even more importantly, it helped me to finally engage the proper muscles. I could feel the way this bridge was supposed to work. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure why pressing out into the yoga strap helped so much, but it absolutely did. Okay. Sounds like what you're doing is what I have in module 4, because you're putting the yoga strap just above your knees. Yeah. Oh, okay. I can explain the biomechanics of this, Troy. So let's get to your question. So this is the butt buster bridge, but in a different way. So you're actually just maintaining a little outward pressure with your knees and coming up and down in the bridge, and that's solving your problem. So here's the question. Why do you think pressing out into the yoga strap helped avoid the low back inflammation aggravation? 2, how do I simulate the same thing without the yoga strap? Okay, cool. This is a great question, Troy. Happy you asked this. So what pressing out in the yoga strap does is it engages the glutes. It's very simple. It's maintaining a low level amount of engagement of the glutes, where without that pressure of pushing out into the yoga strap, the glutes, they're kind of a muscle that likes to go full bore or off completely. And that's why people get something called gluteal amnesia, because the glutes can just completely turn off, and then people, if they've been off long enough, people actually forget how to turn them back on. And so they're kind of like a on and off, like a light switch type muscle, and where the magic happens is in the middle, in the gray area. And so pushing out with this 25 to 50% pressure into the strap is a nice little trick to be able to engage the glutes partially and not maximally, and also be able to maintain their engagement, which is a really valuable skill to learn. And I want to go deeper into the power of endurance. We're going to eventually do a whole stream on why endurance, and I think I did one recently, but why endurance is 10,000 times more valuable than strength. And so what you're training is the endurance of these muscles and not so much the strength. And the endurance is going to help support your spine over a longer period of time, rather than supported, not supported, supported, not supported. And if you imagine any injury, think of an ankle sprain. If you took the brace off and put it back on, and took it off and put it back on, and you're doing activities, it's just as good as not wearing it at all, because all it takes is one setback to re-sprain your ankle. And so you want to have the brace on all the time when you have a broken bone, right? You want to have the brace on all the time when you have a sprained knee. So when you can achieve endurance in the muscles that support your spine, it's like wearing the brace all the time, rather than having the brace on, taking it off, having it on, taking it off, because it's the time when the brace is off that the injury is happening. It doesn't matter that you put the brace on after that, because it's going to get taken off again. So hopefully that makes sense. How do I simulate the same thing without the yoga strap? This is the art of learning, the muscle memory of learning how, using the glutes. And oh, it looks like I just froze here. Interesting. Looks like I'm frozen from my end, so that's a familiar thing. You can't really use the glutes all the time, Troy. So my advice is to I really don't have nothing's really coming to me right now to be like, oh yeah, this is how you simulate the strap. But I do apply the strap in the program with the squat. We do the same exact thing with the squat. If you've made it to module 6, we put the strap there, and we just have a low level, gentle application of outward pressure through the entire squat. And so you can do the strap in other movements as well. And one of the things that I did in my journey was I would do sumo walks or monster walks. I would just have that strap around my thighs or above my knee, and I would do movements on wherever, a playground or whatever. I would go train with the strap there and just train my muscles to be engaged. So sumo walks, monster walks, and then you are training for real life, but you can't really squeeze your glutes and walk like a normal person. So it's more about developing a muscle tone in those muscles rather than actively squeezing them. Muscle tone is what happens at rest. There's more tension in those muscles at rest. And so you're not actively squeezing them, but the tone is providing support. So that's really what you're doing by building the ability of those muscles to contract at different levels, as you're increasing their tone rather than letting them shut off completely. Tone is they're still on 3, 5, 7%, but you're not doing anything. You feel relaxed, but the muscle has a little, like somebody who lifts weights, a bodybuilder, they've got muscle tone. Their muscles are slightly flexed, even though they're relaxed. So that's what you want to do with the glutes. I'm happy to hear about your breakthrough, Troy. And I hope that you posting this helps other students. That's the biggest thing for me about the Student Hub and people sharing their experiences. So thank you, Troy, for sharing. And so that's it. I kind of already did my outro, so I'm not going to do it again. But I do want to say thank you, everyone, for being here live. Make sure to hit that like button and support the stream. And if you know anybody that you think this stream could help, pass it on to them. Send them the link. Just shoot them a text and help get the word out there that you can get out of the cycle of back pain. So we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to go for a nice long walk and undo all this sitting I just did. And thank you for being here once again. Until next time, get down on the floor and connect to your core. Take care, everyone.